Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Back with another recap. Let's jump into it in the American League. Boston took 2 of 3 from Houston. New York took 2 of 3 from Cleveland. Kansas City took 2 of 3 from the Angels. Oakland, their Magic's kind of ran out now. Tampa took 2 of 3 there. Philly and Atlanta was a very, very tight series. Orlando Arcia uh,
Poking the bear a
running,
little bit.
running around the bases, staring down Harper. It's not the playoffs, buddy, but it is what it is. 2-1 there for Atlanta. Arizona and Miami. Arizona sweeps Miami, no surprise. Colorado and Washington. Washington takes 2 of 3. Milwaukee and St. Louis. St. Louis ended up taking 2 of 3 in that series. And then Cincinnati took 2 of 3 from Toronto. Texas took 2 of 3 from Pittsburgh. The Dodgers sweep Seattle, and now Seattle has fired their manager, Scott Service, after that series. Padres take 2 of 3 from Minnesota. Chicago took 2 of 3 from Detroit. San Francisco took 2 of 3 from the White Sox. And the Mets took 2 of 3 from Baltimore. A little surprising there. Me and Blake both tie 8-7 on the week. Kind of a weird week. Nonetheless, still got a pretty good lead. Blake does 11 games, and time's running out for me. We got as close as I think 5 games,
Yep.
and then I tried to get ballsy and do a bunch of stupid crap, and it didn't work out in my favor. So, yeah. What's your thoughts? I know we'll do a video on it, but Scott Service out as the Mariners manager.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a tale of two seasons really for Seattle, right? I mean, they got off to a great start. They opened a double-digit game lead as Houston and Texas kind of started slow out of the gate. Texas is still kind of puttering around, but yeah, Houston has kind of risen from the dead and kind of put Seattle in the rearview mirror. He's been there 9 years. They made the playoffs just once. Kind of surprised he didn't get fired a few years earlier. To be honest, I thought maybe even after last year, maybe could have switched up the voice there, but yeah, not really surprising for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do a separate video on that. So if you guys want to check that out, I'm sure it'll be out at some point this weekend. But let's jump into these matchups this week. First off, we have Houston taking on Baltimore. It was Arrighetti versus Burns, Brown versus Pavich, Valdez versus Suarez, and Kikuchi versus to be determined. I did take Baltimore in this series. Houston has been playing good ball. I'm not sure who won
Houston
tonight. Do you
won
know?
game one. I think it was by a lot too.
Okay. And Burns pitched,
Uh,
huh?
6-0 today for Houston.
Okay. Sweet. Well, I took those, so not a good start for me to the week.
Yeah, I took the O's too. Like obviously you got Burns going game one. I like Baltimore's offense. I think this series is honestly probably going to be a split, to be honest. If we're all being serious here, but um, it wouldn't surprise me if Houston won the series too, because you got Valdez and Kikuchi going at the back end there, and they already won game one. So, but I will go Baltimore.
Yep. Next up, we have Texas taking on Cleveland. It will be Eovaldi versus Bybee, Gray versus Lively, and Bradford versus Boyd. I'm going with Cleveland here. They did scuffle for a little bit, but Texas's seasons at this point looks like they're dead. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Cleveland. Intriguing matchup there in Eovaldi versus Bybee, but obviously Cleveland's been the better team this year. Um, I will say though, before we jump forward, the fact that the Chicago White Sox are in the Central is going to get teams into the playoffs.
Oh
Just that
yeah,
fact.
it
So,
will 100%.
yep. So I
Um,
don't know.
yeah, it is very. I hate pulling that card because I don't like doing that because the Guardians are a great baseball team. Like they got 73 wins, right? But a lot of those, what do they play each
Um,
other 15 times?
I wonder how many of those are the White Sox right
Yeah,
now.
we'll have to do a little deep dive into that. Can't talk right now, but yeah, I'm gonna go Cleveland here too. I'm with you. I think Texas's season is beyond life support. They are getting DeGrom back and Scherzer's on a rehab assignment, but it might be a little too late for the Rangers.
Yep. Next up, we have my Halos taking on Blake's Jays. It was Burke as the opener versus Burr. Bullpen game. Conowitz versus Bassett tomorrow. Fulmer versus Francis, and then Anderson versus Gosman on Sunday. Um, with my head, I would go with the Toronto Blue Jays, but for content reasons, I will be going with the Angels, who are playing pretty bad baseball of late. So it is what it is. Those are our two teams. We'll stick to our guns. Um,
Jays
I
won
should,
5-3 today.
yeah,
Ernie Clement hit a baseball today at his eyes for a 2-run homer. I've never seen a ball get pulled at his eyes before. The Jays cut off to a 5-0 lead. Angels cut it to 2 as the one of the worst bullpens in the MLB tried their hardest to blow a lead. The Jays are they're winning the wrong games, man. They need to be losing to the LA Angels. We're both going for the Ethan Holiday sweepstakes over here on this side. So yeah,
yeah.
winning the wrong games.
Well, and the Angels also they extended their GM Perry Manazian today as well. So
Hmm.
obviously, it's traded for Hoppy, got Neto, got Detmers, who hasn't been great this year, he's in AAA right now. Sean Newell, obviously just got Christian Moore. So Artie Moreno's letting Perry Manazian see it through. It looks like at least through 2026. So we'll see how that pans out. But next up, we have Detroit taking on the White Sox. It'll be Montero versus Flexen, Skubal versus Bush, TBD versus Cannon, and TBD versus Martin. Obviously, I'm not going to be taking the Chicago White Sox any day of the week right now. It looks like this is going to be what, a Friday to Monday series?
It looks
One
like
of
it.
those weird ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it hasn't started yet. Um, with that said, the White Sox are they've won a couple games lately, so they might not be going down as the worst team of all time. We'll see.
Yeah, it is historically fun to watch when you chase records like that for the wrong reasons, I should say. But yeah, I will go with Detroit.
Next up, we got Cincinnati taking on Pittsburgh, Lodolo versus Skeens, Abbott versus Falter, TBD versus Woodford, and Spears versus Ortiz. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in this series. Looks like the Pittsburgh Pirates did take game one, 7-0. Obviously, we make these picks before any games are played. But yeah, so Pirates are up 1-0 in the series, so off to a good start.
Yeah, I took Pittsburgh as well. Ortiz has been pretty solid this year, and Skeens after a couple not up to his standard starts, I guess you could say. 9 Ks, 6 innings today, 2 hits. So it's going to be an interesting NL Rookie of the Year race between him and Jackson Merrill. For a while, Skeens was running away with it. Now Merrill's kind of made it a conversation. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that unfolds. What have we got? 5 weeks left until the playoffs here. That's crazy to say. But yeah, I will go Pittsburgh as well.
Next up, we have the Washington Nationals taking on the banged up Atlanta Braves. It'll be Gore versus Sale, Irvin versus Morton, and Hers versus Lopez. Huge series win by Atlanta, winning 2 of 3 from Philly. No Austin Riley, no Albies, no Acuna, and they get it done against a division rival. So, hats off to them this week. Unfortunately, only got them one game closer to first place, but it's still good momentum to beat that team without three of your stars. And yeah, I mean they're facing the Nationals, who are a lesser of a opponent, and I'm going to take Atlanta on this one.
Yeah, and obviously, you got Renato Lopez, his second start back. Chris Sale's been unbelievable this year. Um, as good as advertised after a couple tough seasons injury wise in Boston. It's nice to see him back to his old self, shoving again. I will go Atlanta. 6 games out of that division lead. We'll see what happens down the stretch.
Next up, we have the Chicago Cubs taking on the Miami Marlins. It'll be Hendricks versus Meyer, Imanaga versus Balazzo, and Assad versus Aller. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Cubs in this one. Obviously, Imanaga is going, but Kyle Hendricks is too. So, flip a coin in those first two games, and then Javier Assad in Game 3, feeling more confident, leaning towards the Cubs. But with Kyle Hendricks going and Meyer going against him. I could see Miami winning the series.
Yeah, Cubs were in last place in their division, quite a bit back of the wild card race. Now they're kind of playing themselves back into the conversation. They're 5.5 games back, so they're playing some better baseball as of late, definitely. Um, but it'll be interesting to see. I think they can win the series though. Miami's kind of rebuilding, so
Next up, we have the Mets taking on the Padres. It was Severino versus Cease. Tomorrow will be Blackburn versus Musgrove, Pearson versus King in game three, and then Quintana versus Perez in game four. The Mets did win tonight. It looks like 8-3 over the Padres. I did take the Padres to win this series. Wouldn't be surprised if this is a split, though.
mhm.
Musgrove on the mound, game two, and King in the middle. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Padres, but the Mets are up 1-0 in the series already.
Yeah, I took the Padres as well. I liked my chances with Cease today, but Severino's been really good for them. Really awesome to see him kind of bounce back. Kind of similar to Sale injury wise. Just just needed a fresh start, I guess you could say. From the Bronx days, but yeah, he's been really good. But I did go San Diego.
Next up, it will be San Francisco taking on the Seattle Mariners. It'll be Birdsong versus Castillo, Snell versus Kirby, and Ray versus Wu. Robbie Ray gets to start against the team that just traded him this offseason. Obviously, both of these teams' seasons haven't gone to plan. Seattle, like you said earlier in the video, had a sizable lead and choked it away, while San Francisco invested a lot of money and hasn't really lived up to the hype. So the Giants have been playing better ball of late, though, so I am going to go with the Giants.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Seattle here. I will take my chances with Castillo, Kirby, and Wu. That's kind of what I based my decision on. Um, yeah, Castillo's been really good after a really poor, uncharacteristic start to the season for him. Um, yeah, the offense isn't great right now. Randy Rosarena's in a really bad slump right now. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what they do against a pretty good set of pitchers for San Francisco. So yeah, I'll go with Seattle.
Next up, we have Tampa taking on the Dodgers. It'll be Alexander versus Miller, Bradley versus Kershaw, and Boz versus Stone. Yeah, Dodgers are rolling, just swept Seattle. Tampa also coming off of a series win, but Dodgers are, they're the Dodgers. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with LA over Tampa. Plus, they're at home, so that gives me a little bit of extra push there.
Yeah, you're pretty stacked when you're DFAing a good vet like Jason Hayward today. I was kind of surprising to see. He's been a pretty good he was a good player for them last year and he's had some big moments this year for them. So obviously when you get reinforcements back like Max Muncy who's heating up power wise, you add Tommy Edman, you get Mookie Betts back off the deadline, somebody's got to go, right? So unfortunately he kind of got caught in a numbers game. Sucks to see. Hopefully, a contender picks him up because he would be a pretty good guy to have for a playoff run.
Next up, we got Philly taking on KC in KC. It'll be Waka versus Walker, TBD versus Singer, and Wheeler versus Lugo. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Phillies in this one. Kansas City's been electric to watch of late, but Philly is one of the best teams in the league and probably a World Series contender. Um, a top four World Series contender. So.
Mhm.
They just played a tough series against Atlanta, um, which they dropped. Each game was a one-run deficit. So I am going to go with Philly in the series, but I could see Kansas City putting something together as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go KC. This is a big series for them. This was um, the measuring stick can't get any bigger than this for the Royals. You get to see where you're at against one of the league's best. They've been really good at home this year. Salvi Perez is been really good as of late. Bobby Witt Jr. is hitting the cover off the baseball. Yeah, I'll go with KC here.
Next up, we have St. Louis taking on Minnesota. It'll be Palante versus Festa, Gray versus Lopez, and Fetty versus Matthews. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Cardinals in this one. They just took 2 of 3 from Milwaukee. Plus, they got Sonny Gray going on the mound in game two against his old team. Um, yeah, and he knows how to pitch in that ballpark. So, right there, I feel like we're going to get a dub out of the Cardinals. Lopez hasn't been that good this year. So, we'll see what happens in game one and three, but I'm feeling good about two. So, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Cards.
Yeah, Minnesota kind of hanging around in that or pardon me, AL Central race, kind of with the Guardians and the Royals. It's going to be a big series for them and also a big series for St. Louis. St. Louis is 5 games out of a playoff spot in that wild card race. So two teams that are desperate for wins, and this one should be a good series, but I will go with the Twins.
Yep. Kansas City and Minnesota sit 2 games out, tied in second place right now.
Yep.
So
Yep.
next up, we have Milwaukee taking on Oakland. It'll be Savali versus Spears, Ray versus Boyle, and Montas versus Estes. I was taking Oakland for a while, but they let me down this past go
You're
against
breaking up with
Tampa.
them. You're breaking up with
I
Oakland.
I rode the wave. I rode the wave as long as I could, and now it's time to hop off. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Milwaukee in this series. They're just a much better baseball team.
Yeah, Milwaukee's last trip to the old Bay, old Oakland Coliseum. So yeah, I will go with Milwaukee as well. Yeah, honestly, wouldn't be surprised if this was a sweep.
Next up, we have the D-backs taking on the Red Sox in Fenway. It'll be Nelson versus Bayo, Gallen versus Crawford, and Kelly versus Hauk. I'm gonna go with the Red Sox in this one. They've been the most surprising team of the year, potentially. There wasn't much expectation coming from that Red Sox camp, especially when they didn't really sign anybody during the off season. I know Red Sox fans were just pissed the entire off season, and they've
The
been
full
pretty good this
throttle
year.
or lack of throttle, I guess you should
Yeah,
say.
I mean Arizona's been hot. I'll give it to them, but I don't know. I like to take the Red Sox when they're at Fenway. It's just something about it.
Yeah, it definitely is a different vibe in Fenway. I am gonna go Arizona though. They did drop their first series prior to this last one. They obviously just swept Miami, so they're kind of back on track there. But this should be a really good series. The second half kind of revival of Corbin Carroll has been really awesome to see. Power stroke is back, hitting homers like he was last year. OPS is over 1,000 in the last little bit. So yep, he's been fun to watch.
And lastly, we have the Rockies taking on the Yankees in New York. It'll be Freeland versus Rodon, Blaylock versus TBD, and Gomber versus TBD. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take the Yankees to beat the Rockies. I mean, I don't think anybody else would be taking the Rockies, but Kyle Freeland in Yankee Stadium doesn't sound like a good time for the Rockies. So,
That that
but
might that
then
might be a
again,
little BP practice for old Aaron Judge.
he does pitch in Coors, and sometimes he balls out. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I am going to go ahead and go with the Yankees.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the Yankees as well. Aaron Judge, do you think he breaks his 62 record? That 48
I
right now.
think he's up to 49. He hit another one
Or
today.
he hit another one today. It's 49.
I'm going to go. No.
No, he'll be close. He's on pace, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with that. But yep, a lot of interleague again this week. So kind of similar to last weekend. So it'd be interesting to see.
Yep. That's going to do it for this one. In review, I have Baltimore, Cleveland, LA, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Chicago, San Diego, San Francisco, LA, Philly, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Boston, New York. While Blake has Baltimore, Cleveland, Toronto, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Chicago, San Diego, Seattle, LA, Kansas City, Minnesota, Milwaukee, Arizona, and New York. As always, we appreciate you guys for listening. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.